All right, Jeff Zimmerman here with the legend, the newly Hall of Famer in a couple weeks, Ricky the Hitman Hatton. How you doing, Ricky?
Great, yeah, fantastic, wonderful, wonderful achievement. Still, scratching my head. Actually, incredible.
Yeah, you still got a full head of hair too. Man, what was the feeling like when you got the call that you're going into the Hall of Fame here in a couple weeks?
Done a lot of good things in my career. I'm sure most people have been inducted, but I think Hall of Fame is something we never believe we can become a world champion, do we? You know what I mean? You never believe you're going to have your names up in lights in Vegas. You know, you never believe all these things. But I was very fortunate to do that, and I was happy to go into retirement. You know, with everything that I'd done and everything I've achieved, and I thought those achievements, them awards, were a thing of the past, to be honest with you. But what a phone call to get from Ed Brophy saying that. I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I think I speak for most people that have done. When you first start off, you know, in me in Manchester, on the outskirts of Manchester, on the council estate, you know, when I first laced my gloves on as a 10-year-old and watching Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield, you know, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, Marvin Hagler, you know, all them people to think that my name is going to go alongside theirs. You know, it's don't bear thinking about. You know, what I mean, I do have to pinch myself, and you know, and scratch my head sometimes and say, "Wow, really? Is this actually going to happen?" But no, I felt very humbled. You know that you know we've had so many great fighters from the UK, and there's only been a handful gone into the Hall of Fame, and to think if I'm one of them, wow, yeah.
So well deserved. And you know, I followed your career from afar, and I mean, what you did here in America, and we'll get to that in a second, though, Ricky. But talk about that first world title against Kostya Tszyu at home. You know, pound for pound, great, and he doesn't come out for the 12th round.
Think that was the one that was probably me greatest win of me career. I mean, to be a world champion is an unbelievable achievement, you know. But I got the chance to fight the one who had all the belts. I mean, it was for the IBF that title, but he'd previously won all the belts. You know, he was universally recognised as the number one in the weight division, and I think he was number two pound for pound in any weight division at the time. And Frank Warren didn't really want me to fight him at first. You know, went to the number one contender, and he said, "I think we can go for another option here, Ricky. You know, because he was the murderous right hand puncher, and my defense wasn't the best, and I used to get cut. You know, and Frank was trying to talk him out of me. I said, no. I went in the game to try and become the best in my weight division. I said, you know, I want to fight him. So I think reluctantly Frank put the fight on, and I think me and Billy Graham were the only ones that thought we could win. And to have a champion as formidable and as respected to quit on his stool at the end of the 11th and go, no more. I've had enough, no more. In my hometown of Manchester, I think that was my greatest win. You know, and no one thought I could do it. Bearing in mind Kostya Tszyu's style, punching power, and my style. I think everyone said, "Oh, we love you, Ricky. You know, we're right behind you." But I think a lot of people thought no chance. But me and Billy believed in ourselves, and we did it. And I think that's because Kostya Tszyu was such a global boxer, if you like, because what he did as an amateur and as a professional, he was a global fighting figure, wasn't he? So he was known in the United States, and that I think that's what opened the door for me to go and fight in the United States then, because he was such, you know, I think, you know, United States fight fans must have thought, who's this little fat English guy who drinks Guinness, who's made Kostya Tszyu quit on his stool, you know what I mean? And I think, and then obviously it went over and it went from there. Many great memories. It
Yeah,
started from the Kostya Tszyu fight, yeah.
it certainly puts you on the map, you know, in the U.S. And then you come to fight Jose Luis Castillo, who, you know, famous for his barn burners against Diego Corrales. one of the greatest fights of all time. But he also arguably beat Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his first fight. And you stopped him in the fourth round with a body shot, breaking his ribs, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't hope for a better result because obviously, going into the fight, if I can better Floyd's performance or even win, the fact that Floyd's beating him twice on points, I thought there's a good chance um the Floyd fight could come off if the manner of the performance is good enough, and I couldn't have expected it to have gone any better, and to beat someone as good as a close quarter fighter as Jose was, and himself, he was a body puncher, in the trenches, that type of fighter, and I can't, I'm not gonna. I mean, he was coming towards the end of his career, and I'm not, man enough, to say that. But I mean, he still has been as cagey as ever, probably more cagey, as he's got older with experience. So I think, bearing in mind who it was against, I don't think it was a great punch that I threw. I touched him to the head and then threw a left hook to the body. But I think it was more who it was against and how I got it in. You know what I mean? It was sort of like beating a Mexican fighter, like at his own game, if you like. And he took a bit of stick about the way he went down in the fight, Jose. And I remember Bob Arum saying at the press conference, he said, "Well, we've just had him inspected in the changing rooms, and you've cracked three of his ribs." So and Bob Arum said, "So stop having a go at him. You'd get down if you had three ribs cracked." But yeah, I just got him in the right position, and I used my momentum. He caught me with a left hook to the head, and I went that way and got a left, but and then hit him with a body shot. And I think the best body shot I've ever thrown, not necessarily the punch, but I think who it was against. Yeah,
Sure, sure. Yeah, that was great. And then you get the call to fight Floyd Money Mayweather coming off his split decision against Oscar. It was kind of the passing of the torch from, the golden boy to Floyd. And you come to the US, it's a massive fight. You're both undefeated. I mean, how confident were you going into that fight?
very confident going into the fight because they say an undefeated fighter is dangerous because he's undefeated and he doesn't know he can be defeated. So where people would say. If you went in against Floyd Mayweather, you're going there just for the payday or just for the opportunity. No, I was undefeated, and I'd beat Kostya Tszyu, I'd beat Castillo, I'd become a two-weight world champion. I saw my name in lights in Vegas, for a Brit, that's a highlight. I mean, when you think to myself, why I didn't just turn up, for the payday, which ultimately it was my biggest payday. I generally thought I was going to beat him, and when I didn't, I found it very hard to come to terms with him back home in England. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but if you thought you were going to win, you think you're going to win. It doesn't matter what they think. It's what I
Yeah.
was thinking, and I really struggled with it, to be honest. But I look back at the Floyd fight, and for so long it hurt me. I was devastated for years after, I mean, it still bothered me. But I think I've been through a few bad times away from boxing and out of the ring. You know what I mean? It's well documented. I had a real tricky few years. But whenever anyone mentions the Floyd Mayweather fight now, I talk about it with great pride because there was like 40,000 Brits went over. I'd moved up from like welterweight to welterweight again. You know what I mean? And moved out my weight division and give the arguably now the greatest fighter of all time a good run for his money. Do you know what I mean? And he was a hell of a shot what he knocked me out with, and he needed a shot like that to knock me out with because it looked like I was going to keep coming until he got me with one of them, which he obviously did. But I struggled to come to terms with that one. But when I look back now, I look back with great pride, and look at it changed my life, my kids' life and my kids' life. So
Mm.
financially, I'd achieved my world titles and I'd boxed in Vegas and I've ticked my boxes and I'd achieved all my goals financially. My family was all right, but when I boxed Floyd, that took me to another. It was another league, and I'll forever ever be grateful that I shared the ring with Floyd Mayweather. Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually caught him in the first round, if I recall, Ricky. Didn't you like
I think I hurt him. I think I caught him off balance. I think it certainly definitely caught him off balance. And if his ass had a hit the deck, I think it would have been a knockdown. But I don't think I shook him. But I think I was having success early on. But I don't think the referee had his best night. I'm not saying, listen, the reason why I got beat by Floyd is because of the referee, because
right,
I made myself look an idiot. Do you know what I mean? It's Floyd Mayweather. But I'd certainly, don't think I don't think Joe Cortez had his best night that night. You know what I mean? I look at the fights with mine and Castillo where Joe stood back and let us stand off and fight inside. I saw the fights where Jose Luis Castillo was able to get close and being able to let his shots go, and Marcus Maidana was allowed to get in close and everything
right.
like that. You know what I mean? So I thought I had half a chance. But I think it's clear to say, and I'm not saying this is the only reason why Floyd beat me, but I wasn't allowed to get in close. You know what I mean? And if I was going to have any chance, I needed to be allowed to get close. It was
Right.
an hard enough job as it is. Even if I got close, it'd have been hard enough. But that's. But I look back at that fight, I'll always be grateful to Floyd for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, Ricky, and I'm here with Ricky Hatton going into the Hall of Fame June 9th weekend in Canastota, New York, International Boxing Hall of Fame, the legend. Now, you talked about having, and even to this day, or you finally come to peace with it, but having a tough time. But you come back to Manchester, your hometown, against Juan Lescano in front of 55,000 fans. So obviously, they were proud of you and they came out to support you. What was that feeling like?
Popularity has never been in question. I mean, to be honest with you, it's like when the fans, and I think that's why 40,000 came over to Vegas for the Floyd fight. 40,000. You don't get that going watching England in the World Cup. 40,000. Um, and I think they thought when I got beat, it wasn't like a British boxer and English boxer getting beat. It was like one of the mates got beat because I think I had an unbelievable following because I think my style was exciting. I was a body puncher. I used to attack. You know what I mean? Fight came against Floyd, I'll have it. Fights come against Pacquiao, yeah, I'll have it. Against Kostya Tszyu, yeah, I'll have it. I was fearless, no nonsense, and but out of the ring, I was just. We have a saying in England, they call you one of the boys, which means you go to the pub, you'll have a beer, you'll go and stand in this, go and stand up in the stands, watch Man City, have a pie, have a beer. You know what I mean? I was like one of the boys, and if people could like. I never shied away, red carpet or anything like that. I was always, just one of the lads, as we say in England. And I think people say, "Oh, he's really brilliant." You tell you what, feet on the ground, dead. We'll go and watch him, and it was as if the man in the crowd could relate to me. And it was like when they come and cheered me on, it was like they were cheering on one of the mates, not an English fighter, to be honest with you. And I think that's my proudest achievement. When I doesn't matter what money you've got in the bank or what belts you've got and like that. And even to this day, when I walk down the street and I see the love in the eyes of the fans that used to follow me and still love me to this day, that's priceless. Yeah.
Yeah, and you answered one of my questions, and you've talked about it here with the fans. It was like Beatlemania, Ricky, here in the U.S. when you came over, and those fans, and I remember watching those fights, and you're hearing them. I can't sing, but there's only one Ricky Hatton or
Yeah,
Walking
yeah,
in a
yeah.
Hatton Wonderland. When
I
you
think
hear
Larry
him,
Merchant said on HBO, he said Ricky Hatton's the only one that can have Christmas songs in the summer. There's only one Ricky Hatton, and yeah, and it just rattled through. I mean, whenever I was staying in the casino or wherever I had to come to the casino for an interview for the fight or the press conference or the weigh-in or whatever, I just walk. They take you through they say the MGM Grand. You go through the kitchen, down the back corridors, so you don't have to walk through the casino. And
right?
all you could hear was there's only one Ricky Hatton, there's only one Ricky Hatton. And my mates were phoning me up to wish me good luck tomorrow, Ricky, and they went, "How you doing? We'll do a little bit better when they get beer in the MGM Grand when they've run out of beer." It was like I mean, if I could go in Michael J. Fox's time machine and turn the clock back and go and sit in the crowd with everyone and watch it, I think that would be something special because everyone just said it's the best holiday they've ever had, the best time they've ever had, and even though it ended in defeat, I look back at that as one of my best moments now, my best achievements. It was something else. And I think I might speak for Floyd, but because I went to the Floyd's fight against Manny Pacquiao, which is obviously Manny and Floyd is a bigger fight than Floyd and Ricky. But the atmosphere was unbelievable, but I still don't think it was as big as mine and Floyd's. That was a different level. I'm thinking because I've always gone to Vegas, even though when I wasn't fighting, to watch the fights, and I've never seen anything like that. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it's been like since because I haven't really been since. But yeah, Texan beating that was something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting. Like I said, it was Beatlemania anytime you fought out here. Let me ask you though, so you had the fight at home, and then you get the Manny Pacquiao fight. You expressed some concerns about PEDs back then, and obviously Floyd held out for a long time because he was worried about Manny and taking PEDs and so forth. Talk about the fight, and just you gave Manny his props afterwards, saying, "Hey, he must have he must have just became really really good." But go back to that fight a little bit.
Well, I mean, when I struggled with the defeat from Floyd, and I went back to England, and I was thinking of packing the game in. I was that devastated, and I've always suffered a little bit of mental health, along the way, and I found it really hard to go out in public and everything like that. Believe it or not, there's no shame in getting beat by Floyd,
Right.
but that's how I felt up there. And I boxed at the City of Manchester Stadium, so then my head was back up, and then I then parted company with Billy Graham. I felt that I needed a new trainer because Billy Graham was having needles and injections in his arms and elbows. He couldn't finish training sessions. So ultimately, I fell out with Billy, who was one of my best friends and lifelong best friends and trainer, had been there all the way. But then I boxed Paulie Malignaggi and Nolan Liam Gallagher, the Oasis. They're my heroes. They carried the belts in, and it was a good performance. But then when I fought Manny Pacquiao, I think. I was I was not in a great place, I can't say. And at the end of the day, there was only one way I was going to fight Manny, and that was go straight for him, and Manny was blasting everyone out, at the time and that. And, just I think to myself, I wasn't in a really good place, because I mean, like, I got beat by Floyd, I was down, then I boxed at City, then I was up, then I got beat, then I fell out with Billy Graham, then I was down, then I beat Malignaggi, then I was up, and then I got
Mm.
destroyed by Pacquiao in 2 rounds, which is when you fight like I do, that could always be the case. And also I think the years of abuse, drinking and partying and ballooning up and down in weight in between fights. My nutritionist, Kerry Kay, said to me, one day this is going to catch up with you, Ricky. One day your body's, I've never known anybody get away with ballooning up and down in weight like you do. But he said, this is going to catch up with you one day. And I think round about the stage of the Malignaggi fight and the Pacquiao fight, I could just feel that distance, maybe, So I think, the fact that I'd had so many fights and I'm not the most defensive of fighters and I was ballooning up and down in weight, and the fact that I wasn't in the best frame of mind, there was every chance that could have happened to me. Do you know what I mean? And he blasting everyone out at the time. But ultimately, that meant when I got destroyed in 2 rounds, that meant I had to retire from boxing now. So and then shortly after that, I fell out with my mum and dad. My relationship split up. So in the space of like 12 months, I was sat in my house and I thought to myself, well, I've no Billy Graham, I've no mum and dad, I've no girlfriend anymore and I've no boxing. So I went through a really bad period through that time. But to come out the other end now, when I think to myself, I nearly took my life, look what I've done since. I've seen my son turn professional. I'm a granddad now. I see my a granddad now. My two daughters are coming along beautiful. I did an exhibition couple of Novembers ago against Marco Antonio Barrera. I had a wonderful documentary that came out telling me my life story. And I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Look what I would have lost out on, So coming out of the other end, and being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I feel very blessed and humbled.
So do you think though PEDs came into play at all with Manny, Ricky?
Don't know. It's not for me to comment, and
Yeah,
it's sad. It's not for me really to comment because I don't really know. He was. I mean, I was pretty much similar weight, like welterweight. But I mean, it was impressive. How we went up to like middleweight. And beat people like Antonio Margarita and Miguel Cotto, who was
yeah,
like middleweight. De La Hoya. I mean. And it's on the night you could physically see that the size different, but he could go, and it's not for me to comment. Only Manny and the team know what happened there. But it was devastating for me, to be honest. But I always knew that could be happening because I thought I've seen better days, me. But when the fight got offered, I performed well against Malignaggi, and the fight come along. I thought, yeah, well, who knows? Maybe we can turn it on for one last goal. He's coming down to my weight like welter. You know what I mean? So and it wasn't to be, but when at the time, when you think that the only two people to beat me were arguably the two greatest of all time, arguably most people would say that. So the fat little Brit didn't do bad.
yeah. What about today, Ricky? What specifically Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, PEDs, Ryan got popped for it after the fight after a devastating win that nobody thought he can, do against Devin leading up to it, all the stuff that was going on. What are your thoughts around that whole situation?
Comment, to be honest with you, that it doesn't look. I mean, because you think the other guy was the stronger, but Garcia, and he come in a few pound heavier, didn't he? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So and I think that's wrong, to be honest with you. Whether you're taking anything or whether you're not taking anything, to come a couple of pound heavier, when you're making championship weight and you're coming 3 pound heavier, believe you me, that makes a huge amount of difference, no matter what you're taking. So I think that was the big mistake. But Ryan Garcia, even though he come in heavier, he still won the fight. So his stock goes up, his profile goes up, and everything like that. So in many respects, you could say job well done. But it's only he can answer it. Do you know what I mean? To be honest with you, it's all these rumors were flying about with Manny. Didn't look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all the rumors are flying about Ryan. No come weighing in heavy, not coming on the weight. That don't look good either. But only they know. We're just forever guessing, aren't we?
Yeah, not a good look for boxing, that's for sure. But and we'll wrap it up here in a minute, Ricky. And I appreciate the time, longtime fan of yours. So this is definitely an honor. But let's end it with some quick hits, though. You have another Briton, another Brit over there. Fury just went up against Usyk in a heavyweight battle, of the last decade or so. Great fight. What was your thoughts on that fight? And would a rematch look any different?
Tyson's my mate, isn't he? He's a Mancunian initially from Manchester and Palamine, and it's been a great journey for Tyson to see him. When he beat Klitschko, and then he fell from grace. He was in a bad way. Mental health, and in a bad way. And I think he went up to 23 stone. You know what I mean? And then eventually got to turn his life around and got it back. And then he had the Wilder fights, and which great trilogies. When we look at trilogies through boxing, you're not going to see many better ones than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, then his fight came against Usyk, which we've been waiting for forever and a day. I think that's the bad thing for boxing, isn't it? We have to wait too long for the fights. Spence Crawford, Fury, Joshua, Fury, Usyk. You know what I mean? We need to get the boxing needs to, with all these YouTube fights coming along, and mixed martial arts versus rappers, and rappers versus YouTubers, and misfits versus misfits. I don't blame anyone with it. Their world can exist. Them fights can still exist, but I think boxing, the big fights need to be made for the sake of boxing, and they did the other week with Tyson and Usyk, and it was a great fight, to be honest with you. I thought Usyk just pinched it, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Not by much. You know, it's open to interpretation. Some people like the attacking style, some people like the boxing off the back foot, you know. So it was that close a fight. Everyone's always going to have their own views and opinion on it. I just thought Tyson, my mate, might have held his ground a little bit more, you know, rather than box off the back foot, you know, like he was doing, because he did have a reach advantage, he did have a size advantage, he did have a weight advantage. He's so talented. You know, he can box southpaw, he can box orthodox, he can fight up close, he can fight on the retreat. He's such a versatile fighter, Tyson. And you think for the difference in size, for Usyk to be the one on the hunt, putting the pressure on like that, I thought maybe he could have still gone on the back foot, but held his feet a little bit more, hit him harder. The minute he held his feet a little bit, he caught Usyk with an uppercut that hurt him, you know. So um, maybe these are the things he can put right in the rematch, you know, because he's a very, very clever thinking fighter. But the only problem with that is Usyk is a clever thinking fighter as well, you know, Olympic gold medalist, undisputed Commonwealth champion, undisputed heavyweight champion. Fighters like Usyk don't come along too much. So I mean, I think it'll be another close one, but I think the winner of the second one would be one who could take the information of what went on in the first fight and see what they can apply in the second fight. You know, Tyson, a friend from Tyson, my friend of mine from Tyson's camp said, I spoke to Tyson. He's confident in the rematch. He reckons he's got he reckons he can solve the puzzle. He reckons he's got a few more things that, you know, he can do in order to win the fight. But I've no doubt Usyk will probably do the same. But fights like that of that stature is good for our sport, because I'm not going to lie. Lately, I have been a bit worried about the sport with some of the fights that have been, some of the things that have been and are still in the pipeline. But as long as boxing will still be like that, as long as big fights like this are made, aren't they?
Would you rather see the rematch, or would you rather see Fury Joshua finally square off?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest with you. I think in many respects, as a Brit, because that would be the biggest British fight in history. Um, and just to go back to, boxing needs to make these fights happen. Back in the UK, we've been waiting for this fight, Fury and
Right.
AJ, for about 10 years. About 10 years. It's shocking that and I don't know, for whatever reason, why it's not happened, but and it's getting to the stage, being a friend of Tyson, getting to the stage, you can see Tyson is, that was a close fight, the two best fighters in the world, but you can see he's coming to an end. You know what I mean? He's had them 3 fights with Wilder. He went through that bad time when he lost about 10 stone in weight in order to make a comeback. That would have took it out of Tyson. As a friend, I hope it's not too long that I can see him put his feet up on the sofa and retire and relax. But it doesn't seem. It seems like there's going to be a rematch. And then if he wins the rematch, then the fight will go for Joshua. So it just worries me how long Tyson's going to go on for. But he's a fighting man. He's a champion, isn't he? You know what I mean? So if in an ideal world, as a boxing fan, with my friendship cap off, if he can beat Usyk and then fight AJ and then retire, that'd be the way I would like to see it.
Go out on a high note. That would be
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic. And real quick, your old rival Kostya Tszyu, his son Tim Tszyu is making a splash out here in the U.S. Obviously, he had that tough going against Fundora, but now he's going against Virgil Ortiz, another knockout powerhouse with Golden Boy. What are your thoughts on Tim Tszyu as a fighter? Is he like his dad? What do you see in him?
Well, he's a mirror image of his dad. When I look at my son Campbell, who's obviously not at that level, yeah, but oh, it's like looking in a mirror. It's like a mirror image, and the way he fights, style-wise, it's really, really good. And I think the first fight, his first defeat, I think he lost it only on experience, because he's not had as many fights. How many fights has he actually had before he fought? He won the world title, but he's gone right immediately straight into the high echelons of fighters, hasn't he? To be honest with you, so I mean, that's an achievement in itself, to be honest with you. But he'll learn from that defeat and come back. But he's shown he can mix it in that group, no matter how. Has he only had about 12 fights?
Yeah.
I think he's had about 12, 13 fights, hasn't he? Yeah, that's incredible to get where he's got already, to be honest. And he's, so he's fresh. He's a young gun. He's got plenty of years in front of him, but he's not hanging about, is he? The class is in already. Take me out of to him, and yeah, I really rate him. Really rate him. I think I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I interviewed him before he was supposed to fight Thurman, before Thurman got hurt. And he considers himself a throwback fighter, like you, like his dad. It seems like he would be someone that could fight in any era.
Yeah, it is. To be honest with you, Frank Warren, when the fight with Kostya Tszyu was made, Frank Warren told me, I don't think we should take this one, because my defense wasn't too clever and I kept getting cut into back early in the day. Frank Warren said, no, we don't need to fight him yet. Let's go for another one. I went, Frank, I said, I've had 30 some fights. I said, how much do I want to wait before to get tested? He's the number one. I want to be the number one. Let's fight him. And that's what I did. I got me win against, and then I fought Louis Collazo for the welterweight title, moved up to welterweight, and Billy Graham told me, no, you shouldn't do that, mate. You shouldn't do that. You're not big enough. And I did, and I won it in a close fight, and I got away with it. So I've never been, and I do when I look at it from that point of view, and then fought Floyd and Manny, and was a little bit fearless from that point of view. So I do like to think of myself as a little bit of a throwback. And the fact that Tim Tszyu has come straight in, a couple of fights, and then he's straight in there, world title level. He is a throwback like his dad. And it's nice to see with so many things in boxing coming along now that we're not enjoying seeing, to see someone come through like that, no fear, straight in at the top level. I think, yeah, really is a throwback like his dad. Yeah.
And I would say you're probably not a fan of the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, Ricky.
No, no, to be honest with you, and it's like a lot of people, he is a lot younger than a lot younger than Mike. You know what I mean? And Mike looks very. I hope I look like that when I'm 58. I tell you what, he looks explosive on the pads and stuff like that. But I've only seen him in little bursts. You'd think at 58 years of age, how long would he be able to maintain that for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds or whatever it is at 58 years of age? And at 58 years of age, as good as Mike looks, is he solid enough to take what's going to come back at him? You big difference taking him at 28 and 58. I would have thought so. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think to myself, Mike Tyson's a hero of all of us, and I'm sure he's a hero of Jake Paul's. Why would you want to risk potentially knocking out your hero, no matter what money they throw at you? I can't get my head around it, and the fact that fact that it's going ahead. I think it sometimes needs taken out of people's hands. I'm all for people making a living and earning a few quid and doing that. I believe the YouTubers versus the misfits and the misfits versus MMA and the MMA versus basketball. I think them fights can exist, but no, Jake Paul fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. I tell you what, if he knocks out Mike, I'll come over and I'll find him and I'll knock him out. Who wants to see Mike Tyson get knocked out at 58? If you're a real avid boxing fan, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Well, listen, Ricky, I appreciate all this time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to a living legend like yourself. Like I said, as someone who grew up with the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Haglers, and the folks like you mentioned, you came in after that era and brought excitement to boxing when it really needed it. Like I said, it was like Beatlemania out here in the U.S. when you came to fight. You're going into the Hall of Fame here in a couple of weeks. I'm sure you're going to have that same following. You're probably going to take over. Your fans are going to take over New York. What do you want to say to your fans and just kind of, going into the Hall of Fame?
I accept this. I accept this fantastic award. With everyone who's had a part in my career. You know what I mean? From my promoters like Frank Warren and Dennis Hobson, Golden Boy Promotions, Banner Promotions, Billy Graham, Mick Williamson, my coachman, my nutritionist, Kerry Kays, Paul Speak, my manager, and there's far too many to mention. And all them fans that supported me along the way, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? The biggest fan base, to come over to the United States, I mean, the numbers that, have come over to follow me, you know what I mean? And And I tell you what, they got me through so many fights. They certainly got me through the Kostya Tszyu fight. You know, they were right behind me for the Floyd and the Pacquiao fights. You know what I mean? I accept this award on behalf of all that I've just mentioned and all the fans that I had in the UK and the US. You know what I mean? We had it was always a party when Ricky Hatton came to town anyway.
Ricky Fatton. We'll end it with that. Again, going into the Hall of Fame with the stud class. It's going to be a Hatton Wonderland in Canastota, New York, and well-deserved, Ricky. Congrats on a great career. And if you ever get to Vegas, go see Richard Steele at his gym. He just turned 80, by the way.
Well, how old was he turned?
He just
80.
turned 80 years old.
Wow, fair play. God blimey, yeah. Yeah, give him my best when you see him. Yeah, he was one of the best. Yeah.
I will, definitely, Ricky. Thank you again, and enjoy the weekend out in New York, and hope to talk to you down the road.
Yeah, all the best.
All right, thank you.
Lovely to speak to you. Cheers.
Thank you.